From the Alex Trebek stage at Sony Picture Studios, this is Inside Jeopardy!
Hello and welcome back to Inside Jeopardy, your exclusive and official podcast destination for all things happening in the world of Jeopardy! I'm Sarah Foss, and I'm here in the studio today with none other than Buzzy Cohen.
Sarah, it is so great to be here. This is usually the time when we chit-chat a little bit, but there is so much going on in the Jepperverse.
I know. We've got lots to talk about. First up, I now have my own signed copy of Baby Got Facts.
Yeah, we like big brains and we cannot lie.
I love it. Thank you for that. Looking forward to diving into that. You know, it's got a bit of a pop culture vibe to it.
It certainly does.
And wow, is it not a time to talk about pop culture right now, because Pop Culture Jeopardy
just announced.
Yes.
And the crowd went wild.
The crowd went wild. I mean, we practically broke down websites with the demand. Thousands of people taking the test within the first few hours that it became available.
Yeah.
And I just love all the chatter out there.
Yes.
You know, it's so fun to see people. Of course, as you all know, it's teams of 3 for Pop Culture Jeopardy. So to see the folks, you know, hey, I'm a big movie buff. I need a music girl or gal. You know, it's really fun to see those teams coming together.
Super fun. And I can't tell you how many people that I know have been like, oh, this is a Jeopardy I could do well on. And I think that's so exciting that, you know, in a way, I think Jeopardy's for everyone, but I'm sure there are people that feel like, oh, it's very academic. It's a lot of facts I don't know about. And so many people are feeling like, oh, Jeopardy is bringing me in to the family. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I came up with a line. It's the show you know with the subjects you love.
Yes.
And for so many people, that's exactly what
so true.
This is. I'm super excited just to bring. I think there's going to be people that, you know, they know the Jeopardy format, but maybe they have thought, I don't know if that's something I'm as interested in watching. I think this is going to attract those people and just new people to compete on the show. And of course, it's open for those who have competed before as well. I think you're slightly excluded, Buzzy, from the...
I'm like, I just did all this pop culture research writing this book.
There's a few exceptions, but overall, I've seen some of our Jeopardy alumni, you know, saying, hey, I need to form a team. Let's get it going. So it's going to be cool.
I'm super excited. And, you know, speaking about that, as you know, I recently was on Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live. And one of the things that I think is so amazing about Bravo, about Drag Race, like the lore is as deep or deeper than all of these things that we cover in Jeopardy. And now we have a place where it's not just like one category a week, but an entire board of all of these things that people are obsessed with.
Yeah. And of course, we did do Sports Jeopardy back in the day. And that was, you know, Crackle. It was a streamed program, but now we're with Prime Video. So I just think having the platform of Amazon, it's gonna be good. If you haven't already, go to Jeopardy.com. You've got to form your team, take the Anytime test. It takes a matter of minutes, and we could be seeing you on Pop Culture Jeopardy.
That's not the only Jeopardy that we are gonna have. I mean, it's like a deluge of the show we love.
Yes, also announced last week, Celebrity Jeopardy is coming back for season 3 on ABC. And the reason I'm really, really excited about season 3 is, keep in mind, we've done Celebrity Jeopardy in a pandemic.
Yep.
We've done Celebrity Jeopardy, you know, through a writer's strike and having to pre-plan and pre-write material. So season 3, I don't want to jinx us, but I just think, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, who's going to be booked, and it's going to be great because I think people are also seeing the success of our celebrities. Of course, Ike Barinholtz came on the TOC, won his quarterfinal, nearly won his semifinal game. Looking forward to welcoming Lisa Ann to this upcoming TOC next season. So it's just really a new feeder for us.
Totally.
That, you know, people used to say Celebrity Jeopardy, but it's getting a different rep, I think.
Absolutely. I know I'm excited to see our next champion because Ike and Lisa Ann have really shown their stuff.
Yeah. And then Jeopardy Masters. Yep. You can't be Jeopardy fatigued. It's not possible.
No.
But the quarterfinals, of course, coming to an end last week. We kicked off the semifinals. I can't believe already this week it's all going to come to an end. We have the conclusion of the semifinals tonight. We have the finals, the 2-game total point affair on Wednesday. We'll, of course, have our special interview with the winner. That will go up on YouTube, on our Jeopardy YouTube channel right after Wednesday's final. And then we'll be sharing that on this podcast as well. Now, we did something fun for the semifinals. We brought in The only two people who could really comment on what it's like to be a master, the only two people that weren't back for Masters this year,
Right.
Sam Buttrey and Andrew He. We flew them down. They are going to have some really fun watch-along reactions to the games. We also made sure they stopped by the pod studio, so we're going to have a fun interview with them later on in this pod. And then tomorrow night, you can check out some of their banter, their commentary on YouTube at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I mean, I can't think of a better time than to just hang out with Sam and Andrew and have them talk a little Jeopardy.
Two very smart and very fun guys to
Two wild and crazy
guys who I would want to watch Jeopardy with. So I'm glad I get to do it.
Yeah, so that's coming up. But first up, we've got to take a little look back at this week in Jeopardy history.
Susan, was this a tough one for you?
Yeah.
It was. You gave it some thought. And did you write anything down? You were unable to come up with a response. Did you risk anything? You didn't have to, of course. You're going to finish in second place. So let's go to James now. He had 39,400, and his response was Sun Valley. You wrote down Las Vegas Strip, and you crossed it off. Why?
Just didn't think it was in Idaho.
Oh. Okay. And you risked 35,000. That takes you up to 74,400 and 2,065,535. Enjoy the weekend. Come back on Monday. You'll be here to defend again. So long, everybody.
On May 24th, 2019, it was James Holzhauer who took the stage for his 27th game, and he dominated, something he did in most of his games.
Yeah.
He ended Double Jeopardy with $39,400, more than $37,000 over his nearest competitor, and he was correct in final, where, as you just heard, he wagered $35,000, bringing his final total to a mere $74,400. Bringing his 27-day total to over the $2 million mark. So on that day, he became the second person to ever break the $2 million mark in regular season play, just behind Ken Jennings. What was so remarkable about this is that James did it in 27 games, Ken 59. So at this point in James's run, we were all like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was watching along and just I think we all were like, where is this going to go? How far can he go? Is it going to stop?
Yes, and is Jeopardy now going to be bankrupt?
Is Jeopardy now going to be bankrupt? But yeah, I mean, a lot of the talk was how much faster he got there. And I think we're seeing now that style of aggressive big money play in all of our Masters games, including the ones we're going to go after. And so this moment, him hitting 2 million, more than twice as fast as Ken, was when everyone was like, oh, there's a new way to play Jeopardy.
Yeah, and it makes you a lot of money. Well, in Masters, where they certainly are going for a lot of money as well, in Monday's game, it started off with Victoria, James, and Matt returning for the first game of the night. And after finishing in second place on Friday, Victoria came back dominating, breaking the record for the highest daily double of the tournament up until that point with 20,800 points. And she ended the game with 50,000 points, also the highest we've seen at this point in Masters history. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, if you are locking out James Holzhauer, that is, I didn't think you could do that. I didn't think that was allowed, not by Jeopardy, but by the laws of physics.
I know.
What's interesting, actually, is that Victoria and James in Double Jeopardy, when it really counts, had a similar, actually, James had more attempts, but they had a similar correct. James had a few more incorrect, and it was really that second daily double that launched Victoria so far ahead. But even finishing the Jeopardy round with more than twice as much as James, it really feels like she is showing her stuff.
Yeah. Well, one thing James can hold on to, although that was the biggest daily double up until that point in this season of Masters, James still holding the record in Masters history. Season 1 of Masters, biggest daily double at 25,600 points. So maybe he's not feeling like the first place person after this game, but he still is a record holder. And Matt Amodio, he said, wow, this is something, being chased by two chasers.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Matt was only able to get in on 8 clues, that just shows how tight that buzzer race was between Victoria and James.
Yeah, well, Ken spoke to Victoria about that big 20,800 point daily double. Let's hear what she had to say.
That was a nearly flawless game.
Thank you.
Although, it did come down to who found that second daily double. Yeah. James was able to put on the pressure with the Looking for Alaska double. I was kind of wondering if that would go dead, but your YA, James.
No, I assure you. It was nice that the category became apparent along the way.
So you had heard the name before.
I might not have made this connection without that.
You realized the pattern. They all had Looking or something similar in the title. So the pressure was on, and speaking of looking, you were both looking for the daily double. Were you very relieved when you realized that was a fact you knew about James Hoban?
Yeah, I mean, architecture is something that I feel pretty comfortable with, so I felt okay making the big bet there, but it was still a lot of points to put up at stake in one bet. So.
I think James would disagree with this, but maybe there's a case for a smaller bet there with less money on the board. But yeah,
no,
he's shaking his head.
I figured that my chances of locking up the game there were better than if I go to final and I'm, closer behind.
It's true. It's true. Finals play harder in these Masters games. The biggest daily double in Jeopardy Masters, I'm reminded, is $25,600 last year by guess who? James Holzhauer. So that's the number to beat if anyone's interested in betting more than $25,600 on a single Jeopardy clue sight unseen.
Getting that amount before all three daily doubles are revealed is absolutely insane. I think you have to be some kind of maniac to be able to do that.
It was fun to watch. You meant that in the nicest possible way, I'm sure, Victoria.
Oh, no, I did. Absolutely.
Matt, tough draw for you in this game.
You may not have noticed, but there were actually 3 of us looking for the daily doubles. I understand the oversight. I understand.
Sorry, I didn't mean to exclude you, but the strategy of the game obviously would have rewarded James for finding it. But yes, you were doing the same thing.
Yes, no, it's they're both so incredible. It's fun to play, even in games like this. Is
that true, or is that the kind of thing you say because there's cameras on?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Matt, he doesn't lose his humor. Throughout it all, he keeps his humor. Well, in the second game of the night, Yogesh, Amy, and Matea entering double jeopardy in third place, but they found and responded correctly to both of the daily doubles, steadily working their way into the lead entering final, where, after a triple stumper, Matea securing their first win of the tournament.
Yeah, I got to hand it to Yogesh in this, because to be only about 3,000 points behind Matea at the end of double without hitting a single daily double is very impressive. But well played by all three, and Amy keeping herself in there, because as we saw, Matea drops down to 6,000, Yogesh drops down to 0. If Amy's right or makes a small wager and is right, Amy takes it. So it was really a well-played game by all three.
Yeah, when Yogesh finishes in third, but still has 45 attempts and 20 correct responses, that's normally what a champion has on any given day. When that's your third place finish, just really speaks to the level of competition in this game. Of course, Ken and Amy had a bit of a funny interview about Amy's spelling bee streak. And once again, Ken has her beat, but the great thing about this was Sam Azursky, the New York Times spelling bee editor, saw the show and was so excited and wrote on X, watching Jeopardy Masters last night, and Ken Jennings and Jeopardy Amy are out here sharing their queen bee streaks. You both are the best.
Sam is a really great guy. I've interacted with him a little bit on X, so if you're a fan of spelling bee, he's a fun one to interact with.
Well, they gave him some chatter.
Yeah.
We closed out the quarterfinals on Wednesday with Yogesh, James, and Matt competing in Game 1. James, with a spot in the semifinals on the line, came out swinging. With 13 correct responses in the Jeopardy round, he took the lead heading into Double Jeopardy. There, he hits a 6,800-point daily double to further his lead into the final, where he was correct. He secures the win, and he secures his spot in the semifinals.
I loved how Matt is really keeping himself as a player. Didn't let that game with James and Victoria, get in his head. Played a really strong game. The one thing I want to shout out for Yogesh, was someone that I was very excited to see play at this level. But 2 missed finals in a row makes me a little worried, because the margin of error is so small in this competition.
Yeah, well, ahead of this game, Matt posted on X, I need 5 match points today to advance to the Masters semifinals, you say. You can't get more than 3 points in a day, you say? Well, I don't love my odds, but, got to keep it funny, got to keep it humorous. And, of course, we did know kind of heading into this game that Matt would most likely not be advancing. But, you want to go out with a good run, and I think he did his best in that game. And just one of the all-time greats of Jeopardy.
Not giving up. I love that.
Of course, we say goodbye to Matt for now, but he does leave us with $50,000. Ken caught up with him for the last time in the tournament in the post-game chat and also wanted to see how James was feeling after the big win. Let's take a listen.
James, congratulations on the win. It must be nice to ice it that way.
I mean, it's just lucky that this birthday happened to be enough to cover, frankly. Hi, Katie.
That's Katie. Is that her first time being a James Holzhauer wager?
No, but I think that I lost the wager the last time, so this is the first good one.
That's good. Matt, congratulations on the match point. You had a nice little run there to start Double Jeopardy.
Yeah, I finally got a little buzzer mojo, and I hope it's in time to do something good for me this tournament. No.
Let's see what happens next.
Yes.
I do feel bad that it came at the wrong time, but it must feel nice to get a second place finish against no less than Yogesh and James.
Always feels good. And those 50,000 now were dollars, not points, right?
That's right. We're going to magically convert 24,800 points.
Yeah.
Apparently a point is worth about $2 American. Yogesh, James, any thoughts to the next time you'll see each other, which will be in the semifinals?
I think we should each try to win.
Yeah, that's probably a good strategy.
Hey, I don't like this kind of collaborating.
Okay.
Match points will, of course, be zeroed out, so whatever advantage Victoria and or Yogesh have had up until now, it's going to be a whole new ball game in the semifinals, as you know. So, there could be big swings in fortune. Seems like James is kind of finding his mojo now. Is this as good as you felt during this competition?
Yeah, I mean, it's playing against this level, you just never feel comfortable up here. You just got to do what you can.
A lot of it's going to come down to things like daily doubles, but congratulations to Matt for playing so well. Congratulations to Yogesh and James for making the semis. We'll see you then.
And in game 2 of the evening, Victoria, Amy, and Mattea. Victoria already having secured her spot in the semifinals. Amy and Mattea each vying for the last and final spot. Another strong performance by Victoria in this game, locking up the win. But Amy essentially held a second-place runaway over Mattea, securing 1 match point and, of course, the last spot in the semifinals. Gotta love the camaraderie between Mattea and Amy. Mattea using the opportunity to congratulate Amy with their final Jeopardy response. Mattea finishes in 5th place, taking home $75,000. I love Mattea Roach, and I just am so happy whenever I get to see them back on the stage. I think so many people, I was, reading the comments, so many people disappointed that Mattea wasn't able to advance to the next round. Definitely, they are a favorite player of so many, and certainly a favorite of ours.
Absolutely, and showed why they're so good in this game where they had a tough break, also had 39 buzzer attempts. That's not someone who doesn't know their stuff. So excited to see Mattea when they're back here because always an exciting player and a great person.
Yeah, and Amy heading to the semifinals. So let's hear how she was feeling.
Amy, congrats on making your way to the semis.
Thank you. And I mean, it was dramatic down to the end of Double Jeopardy because I have seen Mattea go on a tear with those last clues, and I knew as I was forcing myself not to look at the scoreboard in case I started to get too worried.
See, I was looking very intently at the scoreboard because I was kind of looking at how much material was left on the board at the end and thinking okay, how many of these do I need to snag to be able to get within striking distance? And when I realized I wasn't within striking distance, I completely just gave up on trying to come up with a final Jeopardy response. I don't think I would have gotten there if I had been trying, though. That was a tough one.
Victoria, congratulations.
Thank
Quite
you.
a performance in the quarterfinals.
Thank you.
Feel like at this point, would you describe yourself as the odds-on favorite in the semis?
Why would I do that? You just did that to troll me because you knew that I would never, ever in a million years agree.
A little bit.
I would describe her as the favorite, but,
The match points do, of course, reset to 0. So you and Amy and James and Yogesh will be starting off from the starting line all over again. And
famously learned this last year.
Yeah.
It worked in your favor last year, Mattea.
I'm I feel very like RuPaul when she gets the opera glasses out and she's like, I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Yeah. Well, and I also, because it was it was clear in these quarterfinals that it was 3-3. But I also I was so focused on getting to the next round in this game because I felt like I've gotten better all the way through the quarterfinals. I just need to, if these trends continue, hey.
Past performance, no guarantee of future events. But yeah, you may be peaking at the right time. It's true. Victoria's played incredibly consistently, of course, not just with the responses, but on the buzzer as well. You don't seem to have off moments.
I feel like I do. I feel like I get beaten in, and then I look at the score, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing better than I thought I was. But I really, it feels just...
It feels like it comes and goes?
Yeah, it does.
That's interesting.
It does.
I am definitely going to be doing rhythm games between now and the semifinals.
You've got some time to work on your rock band and DDR and whatever it is. Victoria and Amy, we'll see you in the semis.
Thank you.
Mattea, thanks so much for joining us. What a pleasure.
All right, and on Friday, we kicked off the semifinals with Victoria, Yogesh, and James competing in game number 1. What a game this was. All 3 players put on strong performances, but Yogesh really found his groove in Double Jeopardy, taking the lead into final, where he was correct and was able to lock up the first win of the semifinals.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to win a game of Jeopardy when you're right in final. But I just want to say, this game for me is Godzilla versus Mothra versus Monster Zero. These 3 are just so deadly. They play a very similar aggressive game. I got to be in the studio for this game, and it was so fun and exciting and everything that you want Masters to be.
Yeah, and how cool, she may not have won this game, but for the first time, Victoria's daughter was in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she often shouts her out in Final Jeopardy, saying, love you, Nora. We got to see Nora in the audience, and Victoria's spoken about it, how Nora was just a tiny toddler, last when she was on Jeopardy, and here she is, an adult, watching her mom on the Alex Trebek stage in Masters. So cool. Another cool moment, we welcome back Lisa Ann Walter.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about our great Celebrity Jeopardy champions. Lisa Ann not able to compete in Masters, but she brought us a category, muscle cars, one of her secret loves. And I had the chance to speak with her about what it meant to present, her very own category on Jeopardy Masters and how she's feeling knowing that she has a return trip to the Alex Trebek stage booked for the Tournament of Champions. Take a listen. Lisa Ann, you've been a champion, and now you're your own category. What's left for you to do in the Jeopardy pyramid?
I guess win the Tournament of Champions. It's already been so exciting and something that I never imagined would happen ever. And it gets me so many great responses. I have to tell you that on my set over at Warner Brothers, I have so many people screaming from across the lot, Jeopardy! It's beyond anything I've ever been in. It's crazy.
Well, I have to ask, what was it like to watch Ike, our first Celebrity Jeopardy champion, competing in the Tournament of Champions? You know that you're coming up next. What was it like to watch him do pretty darn well?
Watching Ike was terrifying because he is so smart. And even then, listen, I wasn't home all the nights that the show was airing, but I recorded it because I had to make sure that I watched Ike and saw what he was capable of. And then I was even more threatened. I've been studying a lot. And also, the math part is a little bit, it's a little daunting.
It's a big part. Had Ike wagered differently in the semis, he would have been in the finals.
He would have been in the finals, and I'm sure he just wakes him up. I haven't even done that show yet, and it's waking me up nightly. I'm sweating already.
Well, yeah, but today was just fun. It was muscle cars. How did this passion come about?
Gosh, I think it was just growing up in that era when so many of those beautiful cars of the late 60s. My aunt had a Coke bottle Corvette that I adored, and it was one of the last ones made without the pollution control devices. So it would go 0 to 60 in, I don't know, 4 seconds. It was probably not 4 seconds, but it was incredibly fast. And we would tool around New York City in that thing. And my sister and I both in the one passenger seat, just stacked up, listening to Layla on the 8-track. And it was just, there was nothing cooler. And I felt like $1 million in it. And then all of the guys in my high school, got their uncle's old junker cars from 67 and 68, and they were redoing them in the late 70s. And they were cool. They looked beautiful. They were prettier than the cars that were on the road in the 80s.
So when you heard you were going to be a category, did you think the writers were going to come back with muscle cars?
I had no idea it was going to be muscle cars. I'm glad they picked this one because a lot of people don't know this about me. And also because, Dodge should give me a challenger at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you had 4.
Let's go Dodge.
Well, you did a fantastic job. Thanks for being a part of the Jeopardy family.
Thank you. And it is my absolute pleasure. And I love the Jeopardy family. Mwah!
Now for game 2 of the night with Yogesh, Victoria, and Amy. Victoria took an impressive lead heading into Double Jeopardy, and despite Yogesh's strong gameplay, she cruised into the weekend with a runaway win. Okay, we are Swifties around here.
We know
all
this.
Swifties. And not that we don't want to talk about the game, because we do, but as, we're going across the categories, this is right after the Tortured Poets Department came out.
Yep.
And we had a category. It's not about Taylor Swift's top new songs. It's about tortured poets in history.
Yes. Of course, when I saw this, I texted podcast producer Alexa immediately, because every time there's a Taylor reference, we have to mark it in our catalog of Taylor Jeopardy crossover events. Super fun.
Yeah, we can thank co-head writer and editorial producer Michelle Loud for this one. And I just said on headset right when it happened, Michelle, I love this. I love this so much. Couldn't love it more.
I want to just shout out how tough some of the material. We have 3 of arguably the best quizzers in the world on this stage. Mm-hmm. This game had 12 triple stumpers. That is hard material. And still we had high scores. So just goes to show that even a master can get tripped up.
Yeah, Amy did have some bragging rights in this game, because obviously she and Ken have been talking about their New York Times spelling bee streak. And so she said during an interview, I'm on a 20-game streak now, Ken. How about you? And he said that he had missed 4 words one day that week, when Amy was launching her streak. So Amy joked, "Who's the greatest of all time now, Ken?" Yeah,
I mean, I think Ken may have been a little distracted with having to host Masters, but also, the greats don't let that stuff get to them.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, because obviously this wasn't, Amy's game. She spoke to Ken about it in the post-game chat, saying that, her intuition was just off. And sometimes that she's ringing in because you feel like the response will come to you by the time the host calls on you, but it just wasn't working for her in the game. She did say, however, that she did know the correct Final Jeopardy response of Safety Net, and Ken joked that the person who doesn't get to play Final should always get to come back and say, "Hey, Ken, I knew Final." But he said he obviously would believe her, because who wouldn't believe a person who has a 20-game spelling bee streak? Well, in the current standings right now, of course, the semifinals are going to conclude this evening. But right now, we have Yogesh in first place with 4 match points, Victoria Gross in second with 3 match points, James Holzhauer in third with 1 match point, and Amy Schneider with no match points yet. So obviously heading into episode 2 of the semifinals, James and Amy still have 2 games to compete. Yogesh and Victoria will each compete in 1. So really, with the points as close as they are, it's anyone's game. And as we always say in Jeopardy, anything can happen. Over on Original Recipe Jeopardy, Will Stewart returned on Monday to face challengers Michael Richter and Joyce Yang. Will pretty much caught fire in Double Jeopardy. 15 correct responses, both daily doubles. He gets a narrow runaway win by just $200, but I have to give it up to Michael. If you were watching, he was just really trying to get himself out of the hole. He spent the entire game in the negative. And then in this dramatic turn of events near the end, he manages to get to 0 on the second to last clue. He buzzes into that clue. I give him credit for doing so. Unfortunately, he was incorrect. Even Ken yelled, "No, I'm sorry." We all just wanted him to make it to final. But he was a great sport. Ken said it was exciting to watch. We loved having you here before, of course, having to send him off for final. And Michael said, "I loved being here." So I'm going to remember Michael, and it may not be for the reasons he wants, but I loved it. We were rooting him on.
It's not always the story you think that is the story of the game. So this is a great example of that, of someone who just, fighting for it and really wanting it. And I love it.
In the post-game chat, Buzzy, Ken gave our little pod that could, a little shout out at the end. So let's hear how that went.
Do you think this will make it to Inside Jeopardy? That's always my dream. Like,
Yeah.
I always feel like I've really made it in show business when I'm on Inside Jeopardy.
I wish they did that.
And I
every
know
week.
you three feel the same. Yeah, you guys like the podcast? Anybody listen to the podcast?
I've read transcripts.
They do summarize them online sometimes, I think, like some of the fans do.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's a leg up for contestants. Maybe you should suggest to other contestants that they listen to Inside Jeopardy.
I guess.
Is that your secret, Will, to your success?
I'll let you know after I lose.
All right. Well, it may happen next game, or it may be a while. We'll see what happens. Best of luck to you in Game 3, Will.
I'm not sure that was a positive shout out. I feel like there was some sarcasm there.
I've never known Ken to be sarcastic.
Really? Me either. This is new. This is new for him. Who knew?
His Gen X irony has never really landed for me.
Well, because of that, I'm going to make sure to schedule an interview with him here on the pod very soon. You're welcome, Ken. On Tuesday, Will Stewart got off to a hot start and never looked back. He racked up an impressive 25 correct responses and a $10,000 daily double on his way to his second runaway in a row. But I want to give props to Omar.
Yeah.
Okay, dance music. First, let's get this one. Baby Don't Hurt Me by David Guetta, with an Ed Sheeran writing cred, has been called a modern reimagining of this 1993 Hadaway hit. What is
love?
Baby Don't Hurt Me.
My kid's school end of year gala for the parents was 90s themed.
Okay.
And I had a look that was very reminiscent of the Night at the Roxbury vibe.
I can practically picture it.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you my Night at the Roxbury story?
No, tell me now.
So back in the day when I was an intern, I got to co-cover.
Intern where? Here?
NBC4.
Okay.
Yes.
In New York?
In LA.
In LA. Okay, sorry. I just need to lay
yes,
the... Yes,
I'm here in LA. I was at USC. And so I was an entertainment department of the news department intern. And anytime there was a movie that like wasn't super exciting, they would send me. And I was so excited because I'm like young and like, this is the coolest thing. I'm going to go talk to Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. And I got to interview them for the movie and I got to go see it, you know, the whole thing. So my kids now really love this song. And I try to tell them this story and they know this version of the song. They don't know the other one. So it's
They don't know about Hadaway.
It's funny. But anyway, Omar gets this one correct and he responds with, what is love? And everybody, you know, just wondering, would we have accepted what is love? And yes, we would, because the title is, of course, in the form of a question. Omar ended up running this dance music category.
Yeah.
He knew Daft Punk. He knew DJ Snake. He knew Diplo. He knew Skrillex. It was very, very impressive. And in the post-game chat, Ken was like, wow, Omar, you seem to be genuinely a fan. And Omar said, no, I just have friends who are. So those are good friends.
Yeah.
Who would have known that your friends helped you, you know, run a category? Pretty impressive.
One thing I want to comment on is now Will has come back and had runaways on the Monday and Tuesday show, reminiscent of a young Buzzy Cohen. I think something does happen where you come in as the returning champion, maybe get a chance to think about your gameplay, adjust yourself after the rush of winning. And I think, you know, sometimes people have a hard time coming back, but I think Will kind of used a little bit of that tailwind to his advantage.
Yeah, for a long time, Monday was the cursed day. And then I didn't even want to write it into the open because I didn't want to put it out there so that they went into the game thinking like, oh no, this is the day that people keep losing on. But I think it really just depends on the champion.
Depends on the champion.
Well, in Wednesday's game, we saw grocery clerk Grant DeYoung defeat Will Stewart. So maybe your theory is correct. Before lunch, Will was in control for most of the game, but a late surge from Grant in Double Jeopardy secured him the lead heading into final, and he was correct there for the win.
I know you're also a fan of the Bachelor franchise, and when Grant was introduced as a grocery clerk, I could only think of Grocery Store Joe from The Bachelor.
I was still watching back in the Grocery Clerk Joe days. I've since departed my viewing, but I definitely knew that, and I thought of the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and this is one of those tough games where we weren't able to get to the final clue. We've talked about this. Once the less than a minute timer is, you know, put into Ken's ear, as soon as he speaks that to the contestants, the timer begins. So this is one of those games, you know, it turns out Will was exactly $400 off the lead. Had we gotten to that last clue in Double Jeopardy that was worth $400, there's a chance that he could have rung in, been correct, and tied heading into final. Of course, we had to ask if that had happened. Ken said, Would you have gone all in? Would you have wanted the tiebreaker? And they both said yes. So, a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to a buzzer race to see who wins that game, which would have been,
kind of fun.
Probably fitting for two great champions as
Yes.
of their matchup in this game. If you noticed, Grant had a similar technique to a certain Matt Amodio. He responded to every clue with what's. And so I asked him about it. Of course, people on Reddit were asking about it, and he did confirm that was a blatant copycat move on my part to try and clean up the potential for wrong answers. It didn't work. His Reddit username is Grant Doesn't Know It, which is funny. And when Matt was here for Masters, these games were taping, I said, Matt, I can't believe it hasn't happened sooner, but there's someone who's using your what's technique. And he said, I know. How has no one wanted to do this sooner? It's so brilliant. I said, I don't know, but someone's finally doing it. So there you have it. Another thing people are pointing out, forget the Monday curse. They're pointing out the 3-game curse.
Yes.
This is the season 43 game curse, and it's real.
This has happened before, and I think it's part of the ebb and flow of Jeopardy.
It is. And actually, Will replied, this was actually the post-lunch break curse for me because we had an odd tape day schedule on this one. And, sometimes that commissary lunch.
You got to be careful. That's why I ask. That's why I ask in every interview.
It's been a buzzy question forever. Second chance winner and Champions Wildcard second runner-up Jelana Cotter commented on Reddit, Grant reminds me of Weird Al in the best possible way. So I was rooting for him to redeem his original 1980s loss against the plumber and the architect. So Grant cannot sing he lost on Jeopardy because he wins.
He wins.
And he heads into Thursday and he gets another win, a convincing runaway after scoring a combined $11,000 on 2 daily doubles in Double Jeopardy.
Incredible.
This is pretty impressive. Now, fans have been noticing that Grant is sitting in a chair during his game. This is something that we always offer to contestants, and we don't ask, why. It's not our business. If you want a chair, we'll give it to you. But Grant said on Reddit, they give it to you if you ask. I have some back arthritis that makes standing still for that long very difficult. I wouldn't expect everyone who sits for Jeopardy to disclose their reason for needing one, but I don't mind saying mine. So there you have it. Ken's looking at Grant and he's asking about how he seems to be getting progressively a bit braver as the game went on. This one in particular, he started out with $4,000 on a daily double. He's incorrect.
Yeah,
then he gets his score built back up and he gets $5,000 on the second daily double.
Correct.
And then he goes for $6,000.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate to this. Grant says the goal changes
Absolutely.
as you go through the game. And so on that last daily double, he just wanted to lock it up and not have to think about it.
Yes, I think that is really common and smart. And exactly as he said, where you are in the game, where the opponents are, how much is left on the board really changes how you approach the daily doubles, unless you're James Holzhauer, in which you just go all in.
All in.
Yes.
Well, on Friday, Grant closed out the week as a 3-game champion. So we've got another 3-game winner in season 40. And this was another impressive run for Grant in Double Jeopardy. He nearly earned his second runaway. He went into final with a big lead. He was the only one who was correct. So he maintains his champion status heading into the weekend. Buzzy, I don't think you were here for this tape day, but it actually took place on April 8th when there was that solar eclipse. Everyone was buzzing. We all had our special glasses. Many of our staff and crew going outside on the breaks to see if we could view it, sharing our glasses. Our lighting director had some cut pieces of gels, and so he had cut some up so that we could go outside and hold those up to our face. That's what I was using because I hadn't pre-ordered the glasses like Alexa did. But nonetheless, it was a fun time had by all. We wanted that fun to carry over into the studio. So during the audience Q&A, Ken joked, it warms my heart to see so many of you here. You could have traveled anywhere in the U.S. You could have been seeing a total eclipse of the sun, and instead you're sitting right here indoors. But I do have some exciting news from the Griffith Planetarium. I have been told that the totality is coming up right now. And at that moment, we turned off all the lights in the studio to try to simulate the eclipse. And Ken was like, wasn't that magical? The music of the spheres. This was actually Jimmy Maguire's idea.
It has Jimmy written all over it.
He was so excited about it all morning. He made sure everyone was on the same page. We all knew about it. Ken knew the shtick. It was really funny. So if anyone was in the studio that day, you got to see Grant DeYoung win 3 games, and you got to experience a solar eclipse on the Alex Trebek stage.
One player I do want to shout out in this game is Rachel Shelton, going on that big daily double, not working out, but that's the kind of move you got to make if you want to win. So I hope you are holding your head up high, Rachel.
And Grant's got some humor, in the post-game chat.
He doesn't just look like Weird Al.
Yeah, he's got jokes. He's got jokes. In the post-game chat, Ken was asking, if he had been using any flashcards for his studying, and he said, I didn't do the pink note cards as I recall you did, Ken. We have technology now, so. But Ken joked, yeah, when I was on in the 1890s, we had our steam-powered flashcards.
Yeah, and Ken had to walk to the studio uphill both ways
in the snow, even though it was Los Angeles.
Yeah,
he had it rough back in those champion days in the 1890s or 20 years ago, either one. All right, well, let's head into this week's host chat. An audience member asked Ken, what is it like shifting between hosting tournaments and spin-offs to regular Jeopardy?
Going back and forth is only difficult for me when something changes in the format. For example, we have dollars on Daily Syndicated Jeopardy. We have points here on Jeopardy Masters, which means I screw that up all the time. And when we go back to the regular shows, I'll probably still be saying points. So little things like that trip me up.
Yeah, the points is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I messed that up. We all messed that up. It's tough. Dollars, points. What is it? What's happening?
Yeah, and I remember Alex, when he was hosting GOAT, had a hard time with game and day and point, because especially Alex, who'd been doing it for 40 years.
Yes, we hadn't really changed the format at all up until that point. So for him to have a 2-game episode, match points, all that stuff was tricky. All right, I've been looking forward to this. It is time to share the conversation that Michael and I had with Sam Buttrey and Andrew He during the Masters semifinals. All right, it is now time to welcome to the pod 2 of our Jeopardy favorites and also our winningest losers, biggest winners. It's hard to keep it straight, but we have Andrew He and Sam Buttrey joining us in all of the excitement of Jeopardy Masters, the semifinals.
Yay! Give it up. Thanks for having us, sir.
I've never seen this pod be so alive. This is great.
I know it is. It's good. Even the walk to the pod from the Alex Trebek stage to the pod room was exciting with these two legit stars in the Jeopardy cinematic universe.
Suffused with excitement, as all of our walks are.
Yeah.
Did you feel the love in the audience today? Obviously, we're just coming off of some exciting tapings. And when we introduced that you two were here, I think Jimmy McGuire, our stage manager, said it best, like Sam Buttrey and Andrew upstaging everyone.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm delighted to see these 4 players. Andrew and I are just footnotes on the Jeopardy stage, a mere addition to a more exciting competition that's going on, more exciting than you and I could ever do, Andrew. What do you think?
If James is the so-called final boss of Jeopardy, we are the solidly middle managerial tier of Jeopardy.
We're Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Jeopardy.
You're not dead. You're not dead. Well, the two of you, a unique perspective. You were the only 2 alumni of Masters not participating this season. What's it like to be watching from afar in some very elite competition?
Perhaps the most exciting point here is that the reason we're not watching is that we were bad at Jeopardy. I think that's let's lead with that. So we're watching people who are far,
getting
far
worse
better.
too.
Seemingly getting worse.
I like to think that you were outmastered.
But as I've discussed with Michael Davies before, we are not former Jeopardy masters. We're masters for life. It's like Willie Mays is an all-star even today.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it is delightful to see a couple of these people. I had only briefly met Yogesh because I was in attendance at the Tournament of Champions, but I obviously played against Victoria and James and Amy, and it's as well as Matt and Matea, of course, and it's a delight to be back with them. They're charming people. There is no sense of cutthroat competition among them. They're very supportive until you get out onto the stage. No, that's right. We're incapable of competition with them, apparently.
Yeah, I have about as much love for this group of people as I can for having, in theory, taken money away from me. So much money away from me.
Yeah.
Now, I have some good news, or maybe it's bad news for the two of you, because I feel like you really love this competition between the two of you of who has lost the most games on Jeopardy. Amy Schneider now surpassed both of you.
Another thing. Come on.
Yeah.
I had one achievement in life, and now I'm in 3rd place for that.
Yeah, you've been outmastered and outlost.
I outlost, and I know Andrew has more losses, a much bigger loser than I am.
I think we're just going to have to, jerry rig our own official-looking Jeopardy set and just
without violating any copyright or other intellectual property.
That may be hard.
Yeah. No, it shows what a great player Amy is to have been in a lot of tournaments.
Yeah.
Of course, the Masters it's hard for people to lose a lot of games at Jeopardy. Most people lose one. Some people lose one and then are lucky enough to get to Tournament of Champions. Amy has been in Masters up against these very powerful players. My hat is off to her. Mm-hmm. Except in the sunlight where I keep it on because bald spot.
So I know the feeling. But I am interested in when you sort of looked at the Masters field as the two most experienced. It's kind of like in the NFL when you have former players getting up there, and until you hear from former players, you don't really know what's going on. When you looked at this competition at the beginning and handicapping the field, obviously James Holzhauer, who I've referred to as the Scottish Scheffler of Jeopardy, is that when you looked at this field going in, what did you think of the field, and what did you think of the new players, the debutantes, Yogesh and Victoria, and their chances?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to use a sports cliche, which is totally wrong, it all comes down to who wants it the most, which is actually not true.
No.
I think they all wanted it. They all wanted it so much. Gosh. How do we even begin to handicap this field? Is it too much to be saying that the newcomers they're just a little bit better than
the two that they dropped out? No, that seems.
I mean, there is proof of it. You can't convince us because we were roadkill on the path to destruction of Victoria. Yeah,
but Andrew and I were both in attendance at the Tournament of Champions as well, which Yogesh won. Yep. So both of them were difficult to handicap given how little experience they'd had, and clearly the buzzer is obviously a huge part of the game. There's nobody who questioned both of those two players, Victoria and Yogesh's knowledge of stuff. They're very strong on that. So the real question was, how would they do on the buzzer? And I felt that Victoria acquitted herself very well on the JIT on the buzzer. And Yogesh, while he won the TOC, did not appear to my eye to be very comfortable. And I saw him in one of the earlier games in this competition switch hands at one point.
Whoa.
Go from right-handed to left-handed. So rather than Scotty Scheffler, he's more of a Mickey Mantle type.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him about that, and I can tell you about that if you like. So I
he's an innovator, though.
That's true. Yeah. It's something different. So I was pretty familiar with James's game and Amy's because they both trounced me multiple times. But I thought it was going to be interesting to see Yogesh and Victoria's buzzer handling, and so far they have been doing very well as we come to this break.
And the thing about if you can win a TOC and still be working on your buzzer, the optimistic take on that is so much room for improvement, room for optimization. I mean, with Yogesh, sky is the limit.
I have a question for you. One thing that sometimes, as a non-player, I sometimes look at buzzer technique, and I sort of feel the earlier you can figure out what we're looking for with the clue, so the earlier you get there, when you just now have to concentrate on getting on the buzzer, is that a help? Figuring it out early, does that make you more likely to buzz in successfully?
I definitely think so. If you can read the clue in 3-4 seconds, I don't think it's impossible. Ken is only through the first 5 words and you've already got an idea of what the clue is asking for. The rest of the time you can just stare at the lights, or you could even close your eyes and just focus on when the final syllable is said or whatever that is. It's a huge help.
Are you a lights guy, Andrew, or a
I think I can reveal now that
of the host.
Now that I'm I can finally start to reveal some of the because I'm probably not going to be needing this anymore, but I would say I'm about 90% by the sound and timing, maybe 95%, and then just like a soft 5% focus on the lights. Don't take that from me because I am notoriously not that good at the buzzer.
I'm surprised to hear Andrew say that. We've talked about Jeopardy way too much. That's what we end up talking about. And I don't think I knew that you were that big a sound guy. But to get to Michael's point, there's no question. We can all read the clues faster than Ken delivers them because he's not racing. And for a solid percentage of the clues, I hope it's well over half, I have an idea whether I know or not. And if I know, I generally know the answer that I think it is. You'll hear other players say, I'm just going to try to buzz in and then let the answer come to me. I haven't been very comfortable doing that. So I read it. If I'm ready to go, then I start to focus. I'm mostly a lights guy, and I let the sound inform me. I don't know if I've been successful at buzzing in compared to other players or not. I think I have.
I'm jotting down notes right here.
You guys who've been here a lot, you know who on that front bench is the enabler.
Exactly.
Who enables it. Do you ever look towards the desk to see what's going on, to see if you can see a move from the enabler?
I have not, but I saw Matt Amodio's podcast, or one of them, in which he discussed over his long run what he saw as a little bit of variability in the enabler between morning and afternoon, and between, for example, Monday and Tuesday. And Matt is such a good player and so observent that he felt he could use that. Yeah, exactly. I did not. There's a lot going on the Jeopardy stage. You have to. You're looking at the written version of the clue while listening. In some cases, you need your eyes elsewhere for the video. I have not taken it on myself to go seek out the enabler who's way over there in a hat to try to see what his hands are doing. Yeah.
Well, and many would say because of reaction time, even seeing the enabler enable could put you behind too far if you were actually watching for
That's right, but of course you could adjust for that.
You could adjust. Yeah. You could anticipate the enable, but not over-anticipate the enable because, of course, you're blocked out for a portion of a second.
In the JIT, I didn't look over at the table at all, but to your point about Matt kind of, identifying maybe a difference between the morning and the afternoon, because it is just it's a human operating the enabling. I definitely noticed a change. I noticed it very late. It took me a game and a half to notice how I wasn't reacting to what I thought was a subtle shift in the timing of the enabling.
Wow.
And Victoria was just so on it. If she lost it for 4 or 5, she got it back. It probably took me, I don't know, it took me 35 clues or something. I knew exactly what was going on. I knew I was, because if you're going by sound, you're playing an anticipatory game. I think that's one of the kind of weaknesses of going by just pure rhythm instead of the lights. You're trying to jump the gun. And I jumped the gun a lot. And I knew it, and I still could not adapt.
I think focus is such an underappreciated part of playing this game at an elite level. Is 61 clues per game. In a game of Masters, that's 122 clues in an hour of Masters when you're like in a final, or if you play 2 games in a semi-final. It is just so much to keep on going. And there's guys, often it occurred to me that as 2 guys who show a lot of personality, also during a Jeopardy game, you might crack the occasional joke or come up with the witty rejoinder. Does that sometimes distract you from the next clue?
I'm going to say no, and I'm not positive I can prove that. But one of the things that I've enjoyed so much about Jeopardy is being able to have the presence of mind to participate fully in the game, not just as a clue answerer, but as a Jeopardy fan, as an enjoyer. And so I certainly don't regret trying to have that sort of presence of mind. And the interaction with Ken.
If we gave away personality points or style points, you may not have the losing record you had, Sam.
Thank you. I was kind of hoping that you would. And maybe we can have that discussion afterward.
I would still be the biggest loser.
I don't think.
It's fine.
I wouldn't have done it if I thought it would distract me. In fact, I think it helps keep me from being, too tense, I don't want to say too focused, but too tensed. And, it is a very stressful set of minutes up there. There aren't very many of those minutes, but you're very much trying to absorb all this sensory input, keep track of the scores as well while you're doing all this. And we talk about how the buzzer is we haven't talked about it, but the buzzer is the primary driver of the game, together with the daily doubles. And of course, you can't get a daily double if you don't win on the buzzer. So it all ties into that split-second thing. And I go in always thinking, I'm the oldest guy here by a long way. That may not have been true in the JIT, but it was true in our Tournament of Champions. And so I feel like the default setting is I'm going to be slower than the younger people.
Are you making excuses?
Yes. Yes. Also, I hurt my knee. Oh, man, it was brutal. It was rough. But I fought through it.
Now, we brought the 2 of you down, obviously, for the semifinals because we thought who better to commentate on these games. I'm just curious, obviously the leveling of this material, it is tough. It is hard. It is the Masters. What are you thinking as you're watching these clues pop up? Are you thinking, let me at him, I want to be up there, I got this? Or you're like, you know what, I'm liking my commentator spot.
It's 90% just loving the feel of a soft couch and not having to really participate. And, the occasional, and I think everybody watching at home has this, where it's the best players, but shockingly something slips. Shockingly, they're taking a while to kind of reconsider what is this response that I'm supposed to give, and it slips by them, and it's a triple stumper. And on the couch, we're patting ourselves on the back when you get 1 out of every 122 questions.
I love it.
There's also you're asking about the emotions that we feel. I think there's also sometimes a little bit of regret, because the reason we're sitting here giving commentary is because at least for a moment in time, we couldn't quite hang. But then, you're just watching them crush the toughest clues that the Jeopardy universe has to offer. And you just have to kind of put on your fan hat and just sit back and watch and just marvel at how much stuff all these people know.
I've always wanted to get a deeper dive into the backstory of Statler and Waldorf. I think it'd be interesting. Why are they there? Why are they so bitter? What is going on? But I haven't seen your reaction videos yet, but I can't. But that's what you've been doing. You've been reacting live to what's going on the Jeopardy stage. Has anything new occurred to you about the game as you've been doing this?
When you're in the game, I don't think you appreciate just how quickly it goes. To fit those 61 questions into 30 minutes of airtime that includes ads, when you're watching and you want to say something intelligent as part of a commentary, you realize, well, the game is going on without you in a way that it doesn't really in football or soccer or God
there's
forbid,
no
baseball.
TV. There's not very many TV timeouts where you can kind of.
And if you want to offer insight, or I'm sorry, Andrew, I cut you off.
You're right.
No, I mean I'm usually not offering insight, but if you want to offer insight,
I just want to know: are we treasured alumni of Jeopardy, or are we just loser has-beens that were available for the podcast? I think we can be both.
It could be 50-50.
No, but it is true. The game goes very quickly, and there is a flow to the game. It isn't the case that there are 60 independent questions. It's more like the questions seem to come in groups where one player is doing well. To get to your point, I thought the leveling, these questions were hard, much harder than, in my opinion, much harder than the TOC or the JIT. On the order maybe of last year's Masters, and my game isn't optimized for that. I'm not so much a deep dive guy. I'm a not study very hard guy. It's just it's kind of who I am. It's my thing.
To answer your previous comment, you are treasured masters who were available for the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So
Good,
just
yes.
cut out the middle of it.
Very good.
There you go. Well, for the two of you, I mean, the past few years up until the JIT were really all Jeopardy all the time. You always knew there was another opportunity to compete around the corner, whether it was coming off of your wins, heading into TOC, then heading into Masters. Then, you both knew that you would be heading back to JIT. At this point, the future, a bit unknown. Is it good to know that maybe you could take a little step back from Jeopardy, or do you just stay sharp? What's your approach kind of at this turning point for your Jeopardy careers?
Yeah. One of the things that I think you'll hear a lot from the greatest Jeopardy players.
Treasured alumni.
Yeah, the treasured alumni of Jeopardy is that your eyes are always open to some new fact here or there. You're always paying attention to what's going on in the world. Of course, you have you have the stuff that comes up on Jeopardy that is not your favorite subject. But for me, it's you do have to stay sharp at Jeopardy, but it really takes just programming that mindset of I'm doing a lifetime of learning. Most of it feels valuable. If I'm talking to Sam, we can talk about, movies of the 19-somethings.
Oh, man.
1990s.
Yeah, they were in color,
and have a
right?
blast.
Yeah.
The rom-coms that aren't, that you don't make them like them anymore. So, I can take a step back, but also just the way I'm programmed, I'm always going to be filing stuff away.
No, I'm very much with Andrew on that. There are things that I have learned because I thought they might come up on Jeopardy, and I didn't have particular interest in those topics. But I've watched enough Jeopardy to know that they might come up. But most of the things that I know, I think, most of these seemingly useless facts, I've acquired because of interest. So they're either connected to a thing that I'm reading about, or I'm looking up a thing on some website and there's a link to a different thing, and you consume that, and of course a part of it is the interest in consuming it, and then part of it is a Jeopardy skill, and that's being able to store it and retrieve it. And one of the things that people say to me is, I knew a lot of those answers, but how do you pull them out in 1.5 seconds or whatever the number is? That, I agree, is it's not a skill that everybody has. Even the people who know the stuff might not be able to pull it out. So that is.
But it is a very learnable skill,
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm hoping that it isn't, because that way I'll seem more impressive to the podcast listeners. So that's my goal here, is to win.
We're hiding a lot of the hard work. I think none of the people you're seeing in this tournament just waltz in with. Sam's pointing
to himself.
Yeah.
But I know you're. I know you're studying your capitals and bodies of water and Gen Z music and all that stuff.
They call that music.
Well, both of you had different professions when we did JIT, so I just want to ask: our stay-at-home dad, how's life with Everett? How's life?
It is good. He's a little bit of an emperor baby, is what I like to call him. It's beautiful. I love getting to spend as much time as possible watching him grow up. It's definitely not the kind of job where after a day, I go hit the flashcards hard or whatever. If I'm doing any flashcards, it is stuff for 1-year-olds.
Yeah, it's trucks or whatever.
So, I've seen people say like, "Oh, Andrew doesn't have, a full-time." No, this is one of the harder jobs that I've had, but it's also almost certainly the most rewarding one. Yeah.
And how about for our bon vivant and man about town?
Well, whatever I'm doing isn't as rewarding as raising a child, let's say that. But it is, at least immediately after retirement, it feels like the whole world is available. Lots of things. I can sleep in, I can get up and do stuff. I can try to stay in physical shape. In fact, I hardly do any of those things. And it's been a few months now, and, I'm looking for another direction. But I'm pleased to have the ability to do that, to take the time and try to find a thing that inspires passion in me, that I'm prepared to do because I want to do it, not necessarily because I need the paycheck. My last job was fine. I liked it. But I did it for a very long time, and I would love to find a different thing to do. And I'm going to keep my eyes open.
Well, being a professor did get you to the Professors Tournament, which got you into the Jeopardy firmament. And I'm not going to reveal too much, but Sam and I have been starting to have some conversations, and we'll ... that and talk about it in a future episode.
Well, Andrew, you've brought your participation ribbons with you.
Excellent.
Thank you for participating in this in the way that only the two of you could. Always love having you on the pod. Love having you in our Jeopardy family. And thanks just for being two all-around great people that we love spending time with.
Our Statler and Waldorf. I love that.
Thank you, Sarah and Michael.
Thanks for having us.
We love being here.
Such a blast. I would love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation, and I got to be, thanks to the miracle of technology.
Well, Buzzy, that brings us to the end of today's show. We're going to be back next week to highlight the last Jeopardy Masters semifinal, plus the 2-game Total Point Affair final. And we're going to be sharing our interview with the winner of Jeopardy Masters right here on the pod.
I can't wait. See you next week.
See you then. Tonight marks the beginning of our Explore Iceland sweepstakes. Now through May 31st, you'll have the chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime Icelandic adventure with Lindblad Expeditions National Geographic. Be sure to tune into Jeopardy tonight, and good luck. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. See official rules for details.
This 9-letter word describes what you should do to watch more great Jeopardy content.
What is subscribe?
Correct!
Still got it.